Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Well, today we're going to be taking a look at how I made this LED sign of my username. So let's get started. This little project began because I had just started streaming again on Twitch, and I was looking for a way to sort of up the level of my background. I had seen a lot of username signs on Etsy, and I thought, you know what? I think I can make that. So I did. This sign is made out of 3D printed filament and some electronics on the inside, some LEDs and such like that. But this is definitely something you can do without a 3D printer. You could definitely use plywood, maybe some foam, and some sort of plastic diffuser sheet for the lettering. And as a background piece for a Twitch channel, this is really effective. And I hope to also use it in my YouTube videos as well. Just gotta work out the right placement. I'm still not sure what's going on with the background at the moment since I've moved my desk around, so we'll see how that goes. But before I talk too much, let's just jump right into it. So here is the basic design. It was simply a box where one side had my username carved out. This was designed in Tinkercad, and then I later moved on to Fusion 360 to make sure that the design was perfect. I also iterated this design a little bit and ended up with this. Instead of having the username completely cut out, I left a thin membrane that would act as a diffuser. But while that's printing, let's have a look at the components we'll need. All of these components were from Core Electronics, and you can see them on screen now in case you want to build it yourself. If you don't have access to a 3D printer, this is also something you could do with some wood, maybe some plywood or some foam, and you could use a thin plastic diffuser for the same effect. So while the box is printing, let's have a look at the faceplate and paint it in so we don't get any light leaking where we don't want it to. Now, because of the username design, I didn't want to spray paint this because I was afraid that I would get it into the cracks, so I ended up using a brush and carefully going over the outside edges with acrylic paint. Now, you will need a couple of coats of this stuff to make sure that the light doesn't leak through where we don't want it to, but if you're using a material like wood or foam, you shouldn't have a problem with this and one coat should suffice. I believe I ended up doing about 3 or 4 coats. And any paint that you get inside the lettering, you should be able to wipe out. I ended up using methylated spirits for this, but there are much better alternatives. And when you're ready, put it up to a light source and see if you need to make any changes. This is how this looked. And the box is ready just in time, how convenient. And this is how the pieces look when they're put together. So now it's time for my most hated part of any project, sanding, which I didn't do a very good job, but this won't be seen, so, you know, I didn't bother too hard. But now we're going to put some spray paint all over the box. We're using spray paint because it's easier and I don't need to worry about the lettering on this particular part. But now let's have a look at the electronics, which have conveniently arrived. For this particular project, I went with some LEDs, a switch so I could turn it off and on without removing the power source, and a plug so I could plug it into a USB cord. I use Core Electronics all the time for these sort of projects, and maybe one day I'll get sponsored, but not right now. So what we're going to do with this LED strip is we're going to cut it down to size, which I've already done here, and you can see it fits on the back perfectly. Here's the leftover, which I can use at another project. But now it's time to get down to soldering it all together. As always, make sure that when you are soldering or doing anything with any fumes or harmful substances, that you do it in a well-ventilated area. I have an air extractor in the background to make sure that this is all good, and I'm wearing a mask as well. There are lots of awesome tutorials on how to solder and how to actually construct circuits. Make sure you check those out. I'm not going to go through it right now, but make sure you do understand what you're doing before diving into any sort of electronics project, because obviously you don't want to cause harm to yourself or harm to your actual project. Now, I did do some testing before assembling this to make sure that the LEDs weren't going to get too hot and melt the plastic, because 3D printed plastic is not very heat resistant. But that all checked out. I had the LEDs running for 24 hours with no problems, and these are only going to be running for a couple of hours at a time anyway, so this was perfect. Now, in order to get the best lighting effect with the right amount of diffusion, I'm actually sticking the LEDs to the back of the box not on the opposite side of the letters. If you put them on the opposite side of the letters, you may be able to see the line of bright white light behind them. So this way it's nice and diffused and it looks really cool. Now to glue the front panel onto the box, I'm just using super glue, and then I'm using a wood burner to go around the edges and melt the plastic slightly so there's a nice seal. Now this is a new technique for me. I really like how this works, how you can seal and merge different parts of 3D printed pieces together by using a wood burner. I think it works really well and I recommend you give it a shot, but again, make sure you're in a well ventilated area. You will see this technique a lot more in the future, especially with some upcoming Halo Spartan armor that I'm working on and is in the progress. And once the parts are all together, I'm going over again with some acrylic paint and making sure that any light leaks are covered up. Now you could choose to leave that ring around the edge of the nameplate uncovered, but I chose to cover it up. I thought it was a little bit distracting. Now once this is complete, you can also go over the top with like a gloss spray paint to seal it all up or something like that. I didn't end up doing that because the only thing you can really see from this is the words. But it's definitely an option if you want to make it a little bit nicer to look at during the daylight. But for now, let's cut to the finished product. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed learning how I made this, and I hope that you will give it a shot as well. If you do, I would love to see your project, so feel free to tag me at StarkissVixen on Instagram and TikTok. And until the next video, you can also find me at this username on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. I post a lot of content. TikTok and Instagram has heaps of cosplay stuff, and Twitch is all full of gaming if you just want to sit back, chat, and relax. It also makes a really nice diffused light for your face. I might have to use this. Look at this lighting. Amazing. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing here. And I will see you all next Friday. Bye!